hold up. No one told me the starter evolutions actually leaked. Yo, this is crazy. Winds and Waves starter Pokemon. Browt, Pombon, and Gecqua. I honestly still don't know which one I'm going to be choosing, and probably won't decide until we see at least their middle stage evolutions. Though, according to rumors, we might not get any more Winds and Waves news until at least next year. But that hasn't stopped the internet from speculating on what they could evolve into. That's what we're going to be taking a look at today. All the fan art, theories, and predictions, including my own, with some very rough drawings. So if you guys are excited, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already for more Pokemon videos. Let's have a look at the Pokemon Winds and Waves website because they give us little descriptions of each of the starters that could hint at their evolutions. First up, we have Browt the Bean Chick Pokemon. The description itself doesn't tell us too much, but that classification is quite interesting. There's two puns that Browt could be named after. So first, let's talk about chickpeas. Among its many names, including garbanzo beans, chickpeas are also known as Egyptian peas, so perhaps Browt's evolution could have a little Egyptian influence. Another potential hint comes from this 4chan post that came out a couple hours before the Winds and Waves reveal trailer, and had descriptions of the 3 starter Pokemon that ended up being pretty close to what we actually saw in the trailer. But the first thing I noticed is it describes Browt as a grass and poison type. If you've ever seen Breaking Bad, you'll know that a lot of beans can be poisonous, depending on how you use them. So with it being classified as a bean chick, I can definitely see a world where Browt evolves into a grass and poison type. But the other potential inspiration for its name could be a play on the peacock. So in case you didn't know, these birds are most known for the very colorful plumage on their backs. Now, when they're babies, the plumage is not really as extravagant yet, so it's possible Browt could grow its own plumage later on in a future evolution. We just got a starter based off a peacock though, so don't think they would do it again so soon, but if Browt did become a peacock, I kinda see its plumage growing out of its forehead instead of behind. Moving on to Pombon, it's simply classified as the puppy Pokemon, which it shares with like 10 other Pokemon, so not much to go off of there, but the description mentions that below its throat, it's got a heat-generating organ. Immediately I think of Litten, which I'm just now realizing doesn't have that flame organ until its second stage evolution, which of course eventually becomes the belt on Incineroar. The fact they're bringing it up this early for Pombon could definitely be a red herring, but that's really all we've got to go off of. Going back to the supposed leak though, considering it got 2 descriptions right for Gecqua and Browt, does seem pretty likely that Pombon would have an explosive theme going on. The idea of throwing your dog and waiting for it to blow up is pretty hilarious to me. Its name even kind of sounds like Pon Bomb, but it's more likely just derived from Pomeranian and bonfire. But one that Bulbapedia doesn't mention that I've seen is that it could be a pun on bonbons, little chocolate confections that are usually filled with cream or liqueur. So I could totally see it as a little bonbon filled with heat or fire inside. This would actually match with the type combination I think most fans want to see it evolve into, since for whatever reason a lot of fairy types seem to be dessert themed. Will Pombon live up to the expectations? And finally, for Gecqua, it mentions how it launches springy balls of water from its tail and how it's very intelligent and maneuvers shrewdly while putting on airs. I didn't know what that phrase meant, so I looked it up, and this is the image that Wikipedia uses to describe it, which I imagine is what most Gecqua trainers look like. Now, Gecqua itself seems to be inspired by a fat-tailed gecko, but these are pretty small, even as adults, so I wonder if its evolution might change into a different type of lizard. One that's actually native to Indonesia, which if you don't know, is what Winds and Waves region will supposedly be based on, and home to a little island known as Komodo. Apparently, Komodo dragons are excellent swimmers. Does this mean Gecqua will evolve into a water dragon type? A baby. Komodo dragons are also venomous though, so there's a pretty good chance it becomes a water poison type. But there's actually another poisonous lizard that I think better fits with Gecqua having that fat tail. Sorry, I keep calling it fat. Though native to Mexico, the Gila monster does actually have a much thicker tail than the Komodo dragon, so I could totally see this being the inspiration for Gecqua's final evolution. If I'm being honest though, out of the 3 Gen 10 starters, Gecqua might be the one I'm least confident remaining more monster-like. Game Freak, they like to make their starter evolutions a certain way, and maybe they switch it up with Gen 10, but unlike Gecqua's tail, chances are looking slim. Now we get to the fun part of this video, because we're going to be reacting to all the fan art people have come up with for potential evolutions. I guess we'll keep it in the usual order with Browt. From T. Cobbs on Reddit, we have a prediction, of course, based on the kiwi bird, which in case you didn't know is a flightless bird endemic to New Zealand. So of course, taking the kiwi bird a little more literally here, making it into a kiwi fruit bird. I love this because it gives a typically flightless bird an unconventional way of flying, as it can literally turn into a helicopter. As silly as this is, I absolutely love it. We haven't actually had a grass and flying final stage for a starter yet. And when it comes to these Winds and Waves starters, my biggest hope is just that they have unique typings that haven't been done for other starters yet. Another popular one I've seen is Browt Evolution, taken a little bit from Garuda, a divine legendary bird-human creature from Hindu and Buddhist tradition. Now, there's a lot of different depictions of Garuda, but as monster taming brain rotted as I am, I of course think of Garudamon from Digimon Adventure. Though this Digimon definitely looks more like a fighting flying type, give it a little color adjustment and I could totally see this being a Browt Evolution. Thankfully, there's way better fan art of the idea I have in my head for a Garuda-like Browt Evolution. This one here from Kosuke Suke on Reddit also has Pombon and Gecqua evolutions that I think might be inspired by other mythology. The only thing I'm not too sure about with this concept is the brow itself doesn't grow too much, and I just feel like Browt's evolution is going to focus more on that brow. I mean, its name is Browt. But next we're going to take a look at a couple ideas that show off what seems to be the most popular type combination for a Browt evolution. Like this one from P-Form on Twitter, which imagines it as a boxing rooster. I hadn't noticed till now, but most bird starter Pokemon do have hands. It's just very seamlessly integrated into the wings. This one doesn't really have hands. The wings just become punching gloves, which is obviously very fitting for a grass and fighting type. I think I underestimated how many people did a grass fighting rooster for Browt's evolution. But if it does happen, and it is a grass and fighting type, I think it not having fists would already set it quite apart from Blaziken. So immediately I love this fan art from Tartek on Reddit. Roosters are most recognizable by the crest that grows from their head. With Browt already having that signature growth on its head, it just fits for it to become a rooster with a leafy cone. I actually really like the middle stage for this one. I could see this totally being what it looks like. Another pretty unique take. Still a grass and fighting type, which I've noticed seems to be the most common with Browt, but this one looks very different from what I imagine and is actually based on a cassowary, another flightless bird that's actually native to New Guinea, which I think is part of the Winds and Waves region, at least in the beta map. And something really interesting about the cassowary, I mean, it's like its most defining feature you can see here, kind of fits with Browt having its own weird growth. I wouldn't say I see it growing exactly like this, but the idea of its brow growing into a horn has a pretty good likelihood of being the inspo for its evolution. Here we have a different take on a grass electric evolution for Browt, and I gotta say I never imagined it being grass electric, but seeing this artwork kind of selling me on it. I mean, at least the final form. Middle stage, a little awkward, which I have been saying the middle stages are kind of awkward, so yeah, the final stage looks super sick. This is actually giving kind of like a celestial form or something. Like if the new Majin gimmick, whatever it ends up being, makes the Pokemon look more godlike, this definitely fits. Finally, we have another take on the Garuda inspiration, this time going all in on the brows being the defining feature. I want to say this is actually grass and steel type based off the symbol there, and I didn't think of it till now, but its brow growing into what it uses to fight with, like it just slaps you with its eyebrows, that would be pretty sick. Now let's move on to the fire starter Pombon. When it comes to its potential evolution, I really just have one request. How is it possible we don't have a fire and fairy yet? That actually reminds me, back in Scarlet and Violet, there was this concept art for Fuecoco's evolution as a fire and fairy type. Of course, didn't end up being real. It seems I'm not the only one. We have this art from Yo-Yo Fro 25. I gotta say, this one is giving more cat than dog. I don't know if it's the face or the little fangs. It definitely looks cute. I especially love the little whip on the top of its head, which I could definitely see if it became Fire Fairy. It's got a cool whip shape going. Perhaps unsurprisingly, this is the most common type combination I've seen people predicting. But as far as design, a lot of people seem to be predicting a sort of lion dog, or if you want to relate it more closely to Indonesian culture, barong, like this one from Poketrainer VB on Instagram. Like I mentioned, the starters aren't always specifically related to the culture of the region they're from, but I really like this artwork, especially how its tongue is sticking out, just to give it that little bit of goofy energy carrying over from Pombon. We have another Barong-inspired Pombon evolution here. I really like the color scheme chosen for this one. The white to kind of highlight, or rather contrast with the more fiery bits, is really cool, and the way they've done the detail with this like drape over it, Barkarong, I love the name too, the solar dog Pokemon, and it is going to be a fire fairy type. It's interesting most Pombon Evolution fan arts have it staying on all fours. I mean, clearly that's what the fans want. So you have another fire fairy type from L Dark Core here, possibly more inspired by a Foo Dog. This looks amazing, but I'm not sure if they would go with a Foo Dog inspiration just because that's what Arcanine is based off. And with Arcanine being such an iconic Pokemon and even having an even more Foo Dog inspired look with Hisuian Arcanine, even though we've definitely seen Pokemon inspired off the same things. So far we've seen a lot of fire fairy types and a lot of lion dogs, which does fit with the supposed leak, but what we haven't seen enough of yet are explosions. So let's start off with this trio, which includes a very volatile evolution for Pombon, as its head has literally become a bomb. Would it be weird to make it a fire normal type? I'm just thinking about it getting stab explosion or self-destruct, how funny that would be. But the face, as awesome as I think it looks, I don't think Game Freak would have the balls to do something so unconventional, unless we're talking like an Ultra Beast. As for the other two, I mean, I do love me a Rooster evolution for Browt. I especially love the neck detail on it. Kind of looks like the thing that bananas dangle from. And finally, Gecqua, a very different, unique take on it. I've never been a huge fan of Pokemon that look like they're wearing clothes, though. All three of these, I gotta give 10 points for uniqueness. Oh my god. This might be the funniest Pombon evolution we've seen all video. Like, if they're going with the bomb theme, that would be hilarious if its head is just an actual bomb. And I really like the tail being the wick here. Like, it's slowly burning down when it reaches the body. Seeing all these evolutions still standing on all fours just reminded me of my actual biggest hope for Pombon. Please, Arceus, let it stay on all fours. Oh, no, please. Please don't be another Incineroar. We don't need another Incineroar, bro. And last but not least, I wanted to include one oddball prediction, at least as far as type combination goes. A Fire and Dragon type from VO Quetzal. They wanted Pombon to stay on all fours so bad that they literally put shackles on its legs. I love that. As for the Slayin lizard goddess herself, Gecqua, I've noticed two type combinations seem to dominate the predictions for its evolutions. With the first likely coming from the fact that the official site describes it as intelligent, and so many fans have drawn it as a water and psychic type. This is really cool. I love the details on the coloring with the hair strands and the tail itself, kind of giving a little bit of poison vibe, but it is a water psychic type, as you can see here from Jonkle on Reddit. And the fact it's holding essentially a crystal ball made of bubble, I think is super clever for a water psychic type, because like I said, it gives crystal ball, but it's a bubble that comes from the back of its tail. You can even see it. It's kind of making a little water balloon animal there. Same artist that did the Rooster Browt Evolution and a very fluffy Pombon has also done this concept for a Gecqua Evolution that's just giving Zora realness, like from The Legend of Zelda, you know, the Zora Queen. And the fact its tail grows so massive, like if it's full of water, that whole thing, I could totally see it pointing it at you and squirting a giant hydro cannon. The only thing is it kind of looks like it would be water fairy type. Obviously, we wouldn't want it to be too much like Primarina. Here's another take on the water and psychic type concept for Gecqua that I actually really like. The middle form is kind of giving Spyro, or the female Spyro. I didn't actually play that game, but I remember there was a Spyro game with a girl dragon. And the final stage, Nagazure. This looks really cool. The face specifically, I love the expression on its face. Very fitting with Gecqua. Oh, they are cooking with this one. I didn't know the Naga were like Southeast Asian. They seem to be more snake than lizard-like, but if we go with the Indonesian mythology trio, we have Garuda, Barong, and Naga, I could definitely see it. But if we're going with the water poison type, I think this concept from Dead End Cat might be my favorite. Though I don't believe the artist gave it a typing. To me, it's definitely giving water poison with the little pointed purple quills on the back of its tail. I don't think we've actually had an offensive water poison type. So a speedy, physically attacking water poison lizard, that would be pretty sick for Gecqua. There are no known species of poisonous or venomous geckos, actually. But both the Komodo dragon and Gila monster I brought up earlier are venomous, so either could work as the inspiration. Wow, this person took the thick tail to the extreme, gave it a whole jar on its back.
Oh my.
It's kind of looking a little bit like Gudra's cousin, but I like it. Any evolution of Gecqua that has the big tail are probably my favorite. Speaking of, props for making this one look like a leek. I think sitting on its tail is actually pretty clever. It's just like, I'm not even gonna get up to battle you. I'll just be sitting over here, spilling the tea. It's even blowing little heart bubbles at the enemy. I love that. We got at least one Gecqua evolution inspired by the Komodo dragon, also apparently based on the Aspara dance, which I imagine is Southeast Asian. Looking it up, this crown seems to be the most defining feature. Like every single image, the dancers wear this big ornate crown, so I can see now why it's got that detail. It looks really nice. I love all these fan arts, but again, if I was a betting man, I'd put all my money on their final evos being humanoids with jobs. Game Freak can't resist the freak. Now, I didn't think it'd be fair that I'm just sitting here on my not so high chair, judging everyone's fan arts without throwing my own into the ring. So let's start with my evolution for Browt, making it a grass and rock type. I don't know if you guys can tell from my art, but I did kind of try to base it on the cassowary, hence the protruding rock there. But the main inspiration I went with may be a little weird, because way back at the beginning of the video I mentioned that chickpeas are actually also referred to as Egyptian peas. So I went with a little bit of a pharaoh thematic for this evolution, taking the concept of brows growing into a sort of pharaoh headdress. As far as it being grass and rock type, the idea kind of sprouted from fossilized leaves that you can sometimes see in real life. And actually in Pokemon, I think that's what the leaf stone basically is. So the big brow on its forehead calcifies or fossilizes into the cassowary crest. I couldn't think of a great signature move, but a cool hidden ability could be similar to Toxic Debris, except it sets up Stealth Rock when hit by physical moves. Kind of fitting with its wings being made of rock. As you can see, when it crosses its arms, it kind of looks like it has no wings, forming a little shield around its body. So if you guys have any suggestions for the potential name, or any other suggestions for any of my evolutions, which you're about to see, let me know in the comments. Because next we have my evolution for Pombon, which I must admit looks a little too close to Pombon itself. My main inspiration was actually creme brulee, which maybe doesn't come through. It definitely looks more like just a big chunk of magma rock on its chest, but the official site of course mentions how it has that fiery organ on its throat. And I imagine that as it evolves, it heats up so much that it basically caramelizes itself. Now for the top of his head, I originally had it looking a lot more like meringues, but I decided to give it a little bit more spikes to kind of make it look like a crown. I'm not sure if I really succeeded, but with Browt being based on a pharaoh, I thought a cool idea for the full trio would be that they each be based on a different type of ruler. So we have the pharaoh for Browt and now the king for Pombon. Now you didn't think I forgot about the whole exploding motif, did ya? Since we're going with this dessert idea, it launches out these bits of caramelized crust that melt and turn into a sticky goo. This could either slow down opponents or even lay out a sticky substance on the floor like an entry hazard similar to sticky web. If you want to make it a little more balanced, it could be an actual explosion move like the Pokemon faints after, but I feel like a self-destructing starter Pokemon is just kind of messed up considering they're like your partner in the journey. Which brings us to Gecqua, which I ultimately decided to make a water poison type. The inspo for this one was an Empress, and looking up images of Empresses, I found a couple of them where they hold up a traditional fan, and I thought that would definitely make its tail stand out if it looked like an ornate fan. Did I succeed in making it look like that? Maybe not, but the idea is there that she can kind of shyly hold up the tail like a fan to cover her face, but also equally use it to spit out poisonous darts at the enemy. Since it can shoot projectiles from far away, it could actually be like a special version of Aqua Jet that has a small chance to poison the opponent too. Maybe to balance out how crazy that would be, it could be like first impression where you can only use it on the first turn. I know my drawings are definitely nowhere near the quality of some of the fan arts that we took a look at today, but it was really fun getting to de-rust my drawing skills. So let me know in the comments what type you think the Winds and Waves starter Pokemon will end up evolving into. If you made it this far into the video, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.